let's start in child's pose. Just ease into our practice. Let anything that's happened today go. Sit back towards your heels. Feel your hips gently opening, your low back softening. Reach your arms in front of you and just take a few breaths here to ease into our practice. Okay, let's come onto our hands and knees. We're going to do some cat-cows. So lift your head and your tailbone on the inhale and round your back and tuck your head on the exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then let's come to a neutral spine, and then we're going to flip our hands around to give ourselves a nice forearm stretch. So from here, let's do some circles in one direction. Just rotate your whole body and feel. Most people's forearms are pretty tight, especially climbers. So this should feel really good. And then let's circle the other direction. Okay, then we'll turn our hands so they're upside down facing us. You might need to scooch in a little bit because this can be pretty intense. So don't put too much pressure on your wrist, just enough so you can really feel a good stretch here. And then we're going to rotate our hands towards each other, and we're going to curl our fingers in and out. So that should give you an additional stretch in your forearms, really wake up the hands and wrists. Okay, and then relax, and we'll rotate those wrists around. And we're going to come into a puppy pose. So go ahead and leave your hips above your knees and then stretch your arms out in front of you. You're trying to get your chest towards the ground. So your forehead can be on the ground or your chin, maybe even your chest if you're really open. And this will just give us a nice opening in the front of the chest and the upper back. Just stay here for a few breaths. Okay, and then go ahead and come back up to all fours, and then we're going to come into our first down dog. Now from here, let's go ahead and walk the feet out, straighten one leg and bend the other knee, reach those heels toward the floor. Just really get a good overall back of the body stretch here. And then we'll pause. And then let's make our way to the front of the mat. You can step, or if you're warmed up enough, hop. Then we're going to exhale, fold, and inhale, rise. Hands to heart center. So inhale, rise, Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, jump or step back to chaturanga. You might want to start with your knees down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And we'll hold this for 5 breaths to really get a nice stretch to get started. Okay, go ahead and jump or step to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise. Then grab your left wrist with your right hand and stretch to the right side. And then inhale, center. Stretch to the left. Inhale, center. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Jump or step back and take your chaturanga to up dog. And then down dog. And breathe for a few breaths. Just feel your body warming up. Then jump or step to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise. Then do another side stretch to the right. Inhale to the center and exhale to the left. Inhale to the center, hands to heart prayer. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, right knee down in a low lunge. Lift your arms up into a crescent moon. Maybe try to get a little back bend in there. And we'll hold this for a few breaths. And then arms down, we'll come back and take a vinyasa. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Go ahead and step your right foot up between your hands. We'll come into a crescent moon on this side. Inhale for a breath. And then exhale, left leg to meet the right. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise. Maybe a little back bend. And then we'll forward fold again. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, left leg back, knee down. Bring your arms up. Try to get your chest a little more open to the sky. And we'll hold this for a few breaths. And really feel that front of that hip flexor stretch. That's often tight in many people. Then exhale the hands down. Take your chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. And then exhale back to down dog. Then go ahead and step your left foot up, right knee down, and lift up for a breath. Exhale, hands down, and bring your right foot to meet to the left, flat back. Then exhale down. rise, maybe a back bend, and then we'll do that again on both sides. So exhale down, inhale flat back, right leg back, knee down, come up into your crescent moon, then exhale down, step back, take your chaturanga, inhale up dog, and exhale back to down dog. And step your right foot between the hands, left knee down, rise for a breath. Exhale, hands down, then bring your left foot to meet the right. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And inhale to rise. One more time. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, left leg back, knee down. Inhale up, exhale back to chaturanga, inhale up dog, and exhale down dog. Okay, then go ahead and step your left foot up, right knee down, inhale up, exhale hands down, right leg to meet the left, inhale flat back, exhale fold, and inhale to rise, maybe a back bend, and then hands to heart center. Now we're going to bring our feet to hip widths apart, and we're going to do some toe curls. So just kind of grip the mat with your toes. As in climbing, your shoes tend to be very tight so you can climb well, but it might crunch your toes up. So this is a good way to really open up those toes and get them moving again. Might get some nice good cracks out of that. So just do that for a little bit longer, just one foot and then the other. Just try to grip the mat. Then we'll bring our feet back together and inhale up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Jumper step back to chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Then we'll bring the right leg up and then bend and open the hip. And then we'll bring the right knee to the right tricep and then inhale up. Exhale, knee to tricep. Inhale up. Knee to tricep. Then inhale back up one more time. And then exhale, right foot between the hands, and we're going to come into warrior 2. So we'll hold this for 5 breaths. So really sink into it. Try to bend into that front knee. Have strong arms. Maybe you can sink a little deeper because we're going to be here for a few breaths. Then we're going to come into side angle. So you can put your hand on the floor. You can put your arm on your knee and then your left arm overhead. And if you have a block and you'd like to use that, that's a good pose to use a block with. Just try to open that chest up towards the ceiling to really get a good side body stretch. We'll come back to warrior 2. Then we're going to straighten the front leg and come into triangle. So your hand could be on the inside or outside of your foot. Left arm up. And just rotate that chest open. And you can look up to the side or down, whatever feels best on your neck. Just feel those hamstrings. Okay, we'll come back up to warrior 2. And we'll take a vinyasa. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, back to down dog. Then we'll lift the left leg up, bend and open the hip, stretch, and then left knee to left tricep. Then inhale, back up. Exhale, left knee to left tricep. Inhale, up. Left knee, left tricep. Then open up one more time. Really stretch. Then we'll bring our left foot between the hands and come into warrior two on this side. So try to sink down into it. Try to get the outer blade of the right foot closer to the mat. Strong arms. And then we'll come into side angle, so hand to the floor or your knee or a block. Then bring that right arm overhead so you get a whole nice long line and a good side body stretch. Okay, then we'll come on up and then come into a triangle pose. So go ahead and straighten that left leg, stretch your arm out, and then lift that right arm up. You can use a block for this pose as well if you're not comfortable or your chest is kind of collapsing toward the floor. Go ahead and lift your bottom hand up on a block or even on your shin. And just rotate your chest open. And then we'll come into warrior two. And then we'll take our vinyasa. So come into chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. And then back to downward facing dog. Okay, go ahead and make your way to the front of the mat, either hop or step. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, rise. Hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Then we'll jump back or step back and take your vinyasa, or you can skip it at this point if you'd like to go straight to down dog. Okay, from down dog, we're going to lift the right leg up, and then go ahead and bring your knee in towards your nose. And then inhale, lift your leg up. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time, inhale, lift up. Exhale, knee to nose. Then inhale, lift. Then go ahead and bring that right foot up between the hands and come into a crescent pose. So we'll have our hips forward. Your feet should be hips distance apart so you have a little bit more balance. And if you squeeze your thighs towards each other, that will also help. Then go ahead and lift up and maybe get a bit of a back bend in there. And sink a little lower if you can. Okay, and then we're going to come into a twist. So go ahead and hook the left elbow outside the right knee. And you can have your hands in prayer position, or you can have your arms wide, or if bind if you can get a little bit more of a twist out of this. Go ahead and inhale, lift, and then exhale more into your twist. And then we'll inhale back up to crescent. Then we're going to come into eagle, so you might need to take a little step. So we'll wrap the left leg around the right leg and the right arm on top of the left arm. So if you can't get your feet all the way around, you can certainly leave your toes on the floor for balance. And if you can't get your hands all the way wrapped around, you can give yourself a hug. And just try to balance there and sink into it. Okay, and then go ahead and come back into crescent. Get your balance there, lift up, and then we'll take our vinyasa. From here, we'll lift our left leg up, and then exhale, bringing the knee into the nose, and we'll do 2 more times. Inhale, exhale, knee to nose, inhale, exhale, then inhale, lift your leg up, and then we'll bring our left foot between our hands and come into crescent on the left. And try to sink as deep as you can. Try to lift up and maybe get a back bend. You can keep your back leg a little bent, or if you can, try to straighten that to get a little more hip flexor. And breathe. And then we'll come into a twist, so your right elbow will come outside your left knee. And take whatever variation you did on the other side. And you can look up, or if you'd like some more balance, you can look down. That should help. Just breathe into it. Don't force. Then we'll inhale, rise back up into crescent. And then we're going to come into eagle on the left leg. So you'll wrap your right leg around your left and your left arm on top of the right. Try to sink down and lift your arms up. You should get a nice stretch in the upper back. Okay, and then we'll come back to crescent for a breath. And then exhale, we'll take a vinyasa. Then come into down dog. Just hold and breathe. And then we'll make our way to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise. And exhale, hands to heart prayer. Take a moment, catch your breath. Okay, inhale, rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. We'll exhale and take our chaturanga into up dog and down dog. And we'll lift our right leg up, open up the hip, and then we'll bring our right knee into our left tricep, and then 2 more times. Inhale, the hip open. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale and exhale. Inhale up, really open up the hip. And we'll come into warrior A on the right side. So go ahead and rise up. You'll have your feet hip width apart or more, just to give yourself a little more stability. Arms up. Inhale and sink down into it. Try to keep those hips facing forward. Then we're going to come into humble warrior, so you might need to separate your feet a little more. Let's clasp our hands behind our back, lift, and then fold forward. Now, in this, you want to try to keep your hips forward. The tendency is for the left hip to kind of scooch back pretty far. So try to get those hips in alignment with the front of the mat if you can. and just sink down into it and lift those arms up so you get a nice shoulder stretch. Okay, go ahead and lift up to warrior one. And then we're going to straighten both legs and turn to the side of our mat. And we're going to inhale and then lean forward and reach over that right leg for a nice twist. So you can have your arm up in the air, or if you prefer to wrap it around, that's fine too. Just get a nice stretch in that hamstring and a twist. Okay, then inhale to center, flat back, and then let's lean over the left leg. Really sink down into it. And you can have that arm up or wrapped. And then we'll inhale back to center, and then we'll take a forward fold. So go ahead and lean down, have your arms like they're in chaturanga, and lean your butt a little bit forward so you really get a good stretch for the back of the legs and the low back. And reach your head towards the floor. Now if your head easily touches the floor, bring your feet closer together, and that will give you a little more space. And if your head is far away from the floor, you can spread your feet wider. We're going to inhale flat back and come up. Come into warrior two. And then we'll take a vinyasa. Inhale up. Exhale back to down dog. We'll bring our left leg up, open up that hip. And then we'll bring our left knee to the right tricep. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. One more inhale and exhale. Inhale up, really stretch and open. And then bring that left foot up for warrior A on this side. Let's go ahead and reach those arms up. Straighten those hips to the forward front of the mat. Maybe get a little back bend. Just try to keep your low back neutral. You don't want to arch your back too much in this. And then go ahead and bring your feet a little wider if you need to, and interlace your hands the opposite way and lift up, and then exhale forward into humble warrior. So remember to try to keep that right hip forward more so your hips are a little bit more in line with the front of the mat, not open to the side. And then inhale back up to warrior A. And then we'll straighten that front leg and come into a wide-legged fold on this side. So I'll come into that twist again. So go ahead and inhale flat back, and then exhale, rotate over the right leg. And you can take a different variation if you like on this side. Arm up or wrapped around, or both hands around your leg. And really breathe and feel that openness. And then we're going to inhale flat back and then exhale over the left leg. Then we'll inhale, flat back. Then come up to standing so we can interlace our hands and then lift that chest up and then fold forward. So we're really getting the nice stretch in the shoulders today and the hamstrings. Then inhale back up. Then we'll come into Warrior 2 for a breath. And then we'll take a vinyasa. Inhale up dog and exhale back to down dog. Okay, stretch for a moment here. Catch your breath. Now we're going to make our way to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, rise. Hands to heart center. Inhale, rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale back to down dog. And from here, we're going to make our way onto the mat for a nice toe stretch. So go ahead and tuck your toes under and sit back on your heels. Now, if this is too much, you can put a block underneath you for a little more support. You can do it the high way or you can have it lower. This is an excellent stretch for the bottom of the feet and the toes, which do tend to get cramped when you're climbing in those tight shoes. This also awakens all of the energy lines that run through the bottom of the feet. And this is not something we normally stretch, so this is a really good thing to do if you can every day. And it can be a little intense for most people, but stick with it if you can and try to breathe into the sensation. Just a little bit longer. Okay, go ahead and come out of that. Tap your toes. That should feel really good. Okay, sit back for just a moment on the top of your feet and stretch that out. Okay, we're going to come into dragon next. I like to use blocks for this, but you don't need to. So we're going to bring our right foot forward and have our left leg stretch back as far as you can. You can have your hands on the floor, on your leg, or I like to have my hands on blocks so I'm a little more lifted in this, and that way I can get a really good stretch in that left hip flexor. Just go ahead and sink into this, feel that sensation. This isn't just good for climbers, this is great pose for anyone who sits too much during the day because the front of the body tends to get a little tight. Okay, go ahead and bring the right knee back. And then we're going to come into it on the left. So go ahead and do the same thing you did on the other side. And really sink into that. And just notice any differences between the sides. It's quite normal for one side to be more open than the other. Okay, go ahead and release. You can put your blocks to the side. And from here, we're going to do a nice groin stretch called frog. Now, if this isn't comfortable for you, you can come into a wide-kneed child's pose. But if you can, spread your knees wide and have your knees in line with your hips. And then you'll have your feet out like a frog. And then sink into it. So you'll lower your head onto your hands or on the floor if it's more comfortable. And I would suggest doing this on the side of your mat so your knees don't slip out from under you, because you don't want to go too far in this pose because it can be pretty intense. And just feel those nice groin and hip areas open up. And this will help you when you're climbing, get a little bit closer to the wall or rock. Okay, inhale and come out of that as gracefully as you can. It's not always easy. Okay, from here we're going to come onto our stomachs for a nice gentle back bend called Sphinx. So we'll have our elbows under our shoulders, hands flat, and really bring that chest forward if you can. If you need a little more, you can straighten those arms, have them a little wider, and come into seal. Just make sure you're not dumping into the low back. You're engaging the abs slightly. Just feel that nice opening up of the front of the body. And then exhale down. From here, we're going to come into a shoulder, upper back stretch. So go ahead and bring your right arm underneath you and your left arm above your head. Now, if you have more space, you can always have both arms underneath you, so you like a bow tie. One would be on the bottom and one on the top. But most people, this is plenty. So you should feel a nice stretch in the back of the shoulder and the upper back area. And try to have your chest more towards the floor, not open, to get a little more sensation. And then inhale, push yourself back up, and then we'll come to the other side. Let's go ahead and have your left arm underneath, right arm above you. And sink into this. Then go ahead and push yourself up. Then we're going to come into a stretch for the front of the shoulder. So bring out your right arm straight behind you on the side, and then use your left hand to push you up and rotate back. Now, if you can put your left foot behind your right leg and then bring your arm behind you. If that's too much, just go ahead and leave your left hand on the ground and gently push up so you feel a nice sensation in the front of the shoulder. And just rest your head on the floor and try to soften everywhere you can. Then slowly come back around to your stomach, and then we'll bring our left arm out and push up with our right hand and get into whichever position gives you enough sensation but not too much. You want it to be uncomfortable but not painful. And that's true from all yoga practices. You don't want to have any pain. You just want to have a nice sensation. And then slowly come back to your stomach. Come into Sphinx for a moment before coming on to our seat for a couple of poses. So we're going to come into a bound angle. So we'll have the soles of the feet together, knees out wide. If your hips are pretty tight, you might want to sit up on a blanket or a block. And then go ahead and lift up and then fold forward for a nice inner groin stretch and hip stretch. And you'll get a little bit of lower back in here. And just inhale, straighten your back, and then exhale, lean forward as much as you can. And then inhale up. And we'll come into a dragonfly pose, so a wide leg forward fold. So from here, we'll just lift up and then lean forward, feet flexed, keep them active. So you really get a nice sensation in the hamstrings and more lower back here. And breathe into this. It doesn't matter how close you get to the ground. What matters is the sensations you feel. You never want to push yourself too much. Then we'll inhale up, and then exhale, we'll rotate over the right leg, and then fold over. So if your foot's there, go ahead and grab it. If not, you can just have your hands on the ground or anywhere they land along your leg. Then inhale and exhale, straightening and forward folding. We'll inhale back up to center, and then exhale, rotate over the left leg. And again, both sides are probably different. One side will be more open than the other. So just notice it and let the thought go away. And we'll inhale back up. Exhale to center one more time. And then inhale up. Then we'll go ahead and come onto our backs for a nice juicy hip stretch. So we're going to bring our right ankle on our left knee for figure 4. Then we'll grab behind the thigh, or you can grab the front of the shin. And if you have a wall handy, it's really nice to put that left foot on the wall, and then you can let your arms relax by your side. And that's a really nice way to do this if you have that available. But otherwise, go ahead and pull that knee into your chest so you really get a nice stretch in that outer left hip. And then just relax your upper body and neck. And breathe into the openness. You never want to try to force flexibility because your body will not respond to that. You need to allow it to open and soften. Then go ahead and relax those feet back to the floor. And then we'll bring our left foot on our right knee, and then bring your knees into your chest and relax. Then go ahead and release your feet down to the floor. And just take a moment before we come into wheel or bridge. I'm doing bridge here. So if you're with me, go ahead and keep your feet hip width apart. Lift your chest up and clasp your hands underneath your back on the floor, pushing in. And if you're coming into wheel, if that's in your practice, go ahead and rise on up to that. Just try to keep your thighs coming in towards each other. You don't want your knees too wide here. And then we'll settle our hips down and bring your knees together. Let your low back rest. And we'll come up again, so you can do either bridge or wheel. Or if you prefer, you can even use your block for a supported bridge. So you just put that right underneath your sacrum and then relax on that, and you can have your legs bent or straight. And that's a nice, more restorative back bend. And then ease your hips back to the ground, knees together. Let them gently drop in. Then we'll do one more back bend. Okay, so come into your wheel or bridge. Go ahead and lift up on top, underneath your shoulders. If you like, you might want to use your hands to give your hips a little bit more of a lift. Get that chest to rise. Try to relax your glutes. And then we'll settle back down. Bring your knees together, let your low back relax. Let's bring our knees into our chest and rock side to side. And then we'll come into a twist. So you can do an eagle twist like I'm doing. So your right leg would wrap over your left, and you bring your knees over to the left side and your right arm out. If you'd prefer, you can keep your knees together. It's a little bit more of a gentle twist. Or you can keep your left leg straight and bring your right knee over. So whatever variation works for your body. You can also bring a block underneath your knee if this is too much sensation. You want to try to keep your shoulder a little bit closer to the ground. Let's rotate back to the center and hug your knees in before we head over to the right side. So the left arm will be out and the knees will go over to the right. And have that chest open to the ceiling. It's always nice to finish a yoga practice in a nice twist. Reset the spine. It's good for digestion. And then let's inhale back to center and bring your knees into your chest. Rock it side to side. And then we'll take a happy baby. You can stay still, or if you like to rock side to side in this, it's a nice little massage for the back. And one last gentle hip opening. And from here, we're going to come into Savasana. Or if you prefer a seated meditation, you can certainly take that as well. But just relax. There's nothing left to do. Just get in your most comfortable position. If you're a little chilly, you might like to have a blanket, maybe something to cover your eyes. And we'll take about a 5-minute Savasana here. Let's start to bring sensation and awareness back into the body. Taking your time, maybe start to wiggle your fingers and toes, making small movements, turning your head side to side. And when you're ready, you can bring your knees into your chest and roll over to one side, resting your head on your arm. Taking your time, go ahead and come up to a seated position, keeping your eyes closed. Let's bring our hands into prayer position and bow our head in gratitude. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.